Hello and thank you for tuning into Sideline Story, your destination for sports news, analysis and discussions. I'm your host Brandon Yates, and today, as always, I'm joined by my two fantastic co-hosts, Yang Guang and Tian Yu. And today we will be focusing on global teenage sensations, which we have seen, I suppose, over the course of decades. There always seems to be some sort of teenage sensation in a variety of sports, but this week we're talking about it because of the incredible performances of Luke Littler at the World Darts Championship. Yang Guang, tell me about his performance. Unfortunately, he did fall at the last hurdle, right?
Yeah. I watched Littler's games at the World Championships. It's really a shame he lost that final.
Tough thing for a 16-year-old to take. Yeah.
He was that close to take a 5-2 lead in the best of 13 match. If he hit a double two, unfortunately he missed it, and Luke Humphries, another Luke, managed to level the score from
Luke
there
squared,
and make the comeback. But still, it's a dream run for Littler already, and he's such a tough player. I think darts is a sport where mental fortitude is everything.
For sure.
You need to hit the exact number when it matters in the final duels. Tiny mistakes make huge differences.
Yeah. I don't think there's much difference in terms of the talent levels amongst all of the competitors. Like you say, Yang Guang, I think the difference maker is people that can really step up to the challenge and either keep calm or not make mistakes at those crucial moments. So for a 16-year-old to get to that point, I mean, look, he did lose in the final, which is a pity, and I'm sure it's going to be something incredibly difficult for him to get over, depending on what his mental state is like. But yeah, I think in those moments, mental fortitude definitely trumps talent when it gets to those stages where, you've got two guys competing who are probably at a similar talent level, and the difference maker will probably come down to who can handle the moment best.
You really need to have a pair of steady hands and a big, and a big heart for these sports. And Littler has got them. Looking at him play, you don't feel the pressure. It's like a machine delivering the precise numbers. He can always put the darts where they are needed to be. 3 times he needed to hit double 16 to secure the legs against Rob Cross, not missing single time.
And he defeated Van Barneveld, right? Who's one of the greatest darts players of all time. Yeah.
There's comment from online about Littler's performance. He said, "I wasn't convinced at first, but seeing him continuously with the high doubles percentage and taking those big checkouts consistently, he really is the real deal." I think that's the feeling of most of the fans when watching Littler's game.
Yeah. Well, let's not hope he's a one-hit. Let's hope he's not a one-hit wonder, because we've also said this about, and we'll get into it later in the conversation. But we've said this about numerous talents over the years. Where they kind of break out onto the scene, have 1 or 2 good performances, and then just disappear. So, hopefully, someone in Littler's team, whether it be his parents, his coaching staff, his friends around him, hopefully they're all able to manage this incredible success and disappointment, because there's a lot of ups and downs in terms of what he's currently dealing with, and hopefully we can see him return at the same level, if not stronger, right?
It's a really good time to introduce someone to take charge of his career.
Absolutely.
Not himself, a 16-year-old, to deal with all the pressure from the media, from fans, from his opponents. It's just too much.
I think we also need some officials to check that birth certificate, though, because judging by his mental fortitude, and this is not an insult or anything, but looking at him, he definitely does not look 16. So hopefully there aren't any surprises when we learn more about him as the weeks go by.
He's definitely more mature than he looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And Tian Yu, from your side of things, what did you make of Littler's performance, and what kind of interests you about him and this incredible success that he's had from being a complete unknown to becoming this headline story globally?
Yeah. First of all, I didn't know that there's an international tournament of darts before.
It's huge. I don't know if it's like a big deal globally, but I know in the UK it's a very, very big deal.
Yeah, I thought a darts game would often happen between some friends when they're hanging out or want to have some fun together.
To be fair, that's how the rest of the world sees like table tennis as well. And then you come to China and you realize, no, this is a very serious sport.
Yeah, it turns out that in the UK, darts can be a fiercely competitive sport and a very big business with multi-million-dollar prizes and crowds of people watching the games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
sounds similar to something that you enjoy. You know, played between friends, but somehow attracts massive crowds and definitely. Funding. Kind of sounds a bit like esports.
You bet. And now the sport has a new star, Luke Littler, who's only 16 years old. I think his age can be a really surprising thing for a sport that often values experience. A lot of the world champions,
mental strength, right?
Yeah,
and like that maturity.
Yeah, a lot of the world champions of the tournament are in their late 20s and 30s, and some are even older.
Yeah, for example, Van Barneveld is like in his 40s or 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Peter Wright won the 2022 title at 51. And the greatest player ever of the game, Phil Taylor, made it to the 2018 final at 57. Wow. So, competing in the final at 16 years old is unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, he was basically playing against men that could be his father. It's incredible. Honestly, it's incredible.
Yeah, so I think even though Luke lost the final, I think he should still be proud of what he has achieved by beating players who are decades older than him. And also, he certainly should be happy about the result because even in defeat, he took home £200,000. Or about 1.8 million RMB.
Wow.
And that's not only a big fortune for a 16-year-old, but also a lot for me.
For anybody.
Yeah, for anybody.
Yeah.
And what I also find really interesting about his story is that what he said about his routine before the final in an interview. So during the days when he was preparing for the final, he said in the morning he would go for his ham and cheese omelette and have a pizza before his practice session.
He's a man after my own heart. I love a ham and cheese omelette. Yes, you see, that is the key to success. Ham and cheese omelette in the morning. Yes, great start to the day.
And have a pizza.
I highly agree with that.
Have a pizza before his practice session.
I don't agree with that. He was off to a good start and then he disappointed me.
And also on a typical day in his life outside the tournament, he will just wake up, play on his Xbox, have some food.
Sounds like a fine-tuned athlete.
What the hell of life?
Yeah.
And have a chalk on the board, go to bed, and that's it.
Tough life, eh?
Yeah. I think entering the final of the game at such a young age is a proof of how talented he is. But this mentality of keeping calm. And
you can see it in his routine. Clearly he is a guy that isn't really fazed by much and lives a very, very relaxed lifestyle. And I guess he carried that through into the World Darts Championship. He probably tried to view it as like part of his routine, just waking up, having a couple of throws at the board. And because of his talent, that mentality and just being relaxed took him all the way to the final.
Yeah, just keep doing whatever you do every day, even in a very stressful situation. This is even more important or a precious element to his success.
Yeah, I guess that's why people call him the nuke.
Yeah,
Luke the Nuke.
Yeah, he changes everything.
Yeah.
It's a nuclear bomb.
The game changer.
Darts.
Yeah. But now, Yang Guang, I'll ask your personal take on this because I think there's going to be different trails of thought about this particular question. Of course, the success is incredible, and we've seen the talent, we've seen the mental calmness and being able to deal with these pressure moments. But that being said, he is allegedly 16 years old. We'll see. And he also had to deal with this incredible high of getting to that point and also the incredible low of dealing with a final loss, which I think whether you're 16 or 66, at that level in the World Darts Championship final is an insane disappointment. Do you think that his mentality can get him through that loss? And do you think he'll bounce back stronger? Or do you think that he will now disappear into oblivion?
To be honest, if I would be in his shoe, I would be very disappointed.
I would be gutted.
Yeah. But that being said, just considering how far he already reached at this World Championship, no one was expecting him to win a single match from the very beginning.
He was the underdog.
Yeah, he's the super underdog, and I think he's the youngest player ever to win a match at World Championships. So a lot of achievements already made, and even though he lost the final, I would say he's the biggest winner already at the tournament.
But just the mental thing, like I know, getting to that point is incredible, and there was so much success and so many records broken, but then like at the last hurdle, it just doesn't happen for you. I think people around him and himself are going to be incredibly proud of what he's achieved, and rightfully so. But man, to if someone said to me, if I was like part of the South African rugby team and we had beaten all of the New Zealand in the semi-finals and broken records and whatever, and then lost in the final, this is just me. I don't know how it affects him, but my mind would forget about all of those achievements, and I'd just be like, I can't believe I got this far and lost the final.
It's really cruel.
Do you think that he can avoid that?
It's hard
again,
to say.
if I'm in his position, I would be devastated.
Me too.
After that loss, but I'm very optimistic that I already harvested so much from this tournament. Like
I think that's how he will see it later. Like I think this week and weekend, or next couple of days is going to be very tough for him.
His celebrity status
that's going to be fun.
Is rising with every dart he threw, and he's got support from players of his favorite football club, Manchester United,
of course.
And
now you're talking.
Maybe that can help. Maybe all of this instant fame and being reached out to by Manchester United players, etc. Maybe that can distract him from the huge disappointment he's dealt with, and rather just focus on the positive elements of that success, even though he fell at the final hurdle. But focus on that and be distracted by that, so you can forget about the final loss, enjoy the success, and prepare for the next tournament.
And his Instagram account has gone from 4,000 followers at the start of this tournament to over 450,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, he can have. Yeah, I think. Look, if he deals with this loss correctly, and it sounds like he does have a lot of positive distractions to get past that, and then once all of this, because the hype will die down eventually, and after a couple of weeks, he will need to just get back onto the right track and focus on his darts and prepare for the next World Championship
or school.
Or school. But I think by the time that time comes, he probably will have gotten over the disappointment of the loss and probably forget about it quite quickly, because he's had all of this, success and hoopla around him. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what his performance will be like at the next championship. And if he can maintain this incredible start that he's had to a very early point in his career. Young Wang, there've been, like I mentioned earlier, there've been teenage sensations in football, in cricket, in rugby, in athletics, in a variety of sports. But I think most of the ones that I can think of globally over the years have probably emerged from football. It seems to be one of those sports that always hypes up these incredibly young talents to go on and achieve the success of the likes of Messi and Ronaldo and Maradona and Pele, etc. There's always the next Ronaldo, the next Messi, etc. And we've seen varying levels of success and failures about these teenage sensations that we've hyped up from a young age. Are there any that come to mind for you that have either exceeded the expectations that were placed on them, or have really failed to live up to the hype?
I will stick to those making their way to success.
Yes,
to success.
Stick with the positive.
First name in my mind, of course, Lionel Messi. He has this.
Was there a lot of hype? Like when he was 17, 18, was there as much hype and expectation around him to achieve what he has? I mean, I know there was hype, but I don't think anyone could have foreseen what he would go on to achieve, right?
Yeah. The other day I checked a video of Barcelona against Real Madrid when Messi was only 19 or 20. And I heard the commentator criticizing Messi's performance on the pitch. I bet he really regretted those comments. But yeah, Messi wasn't that great when he was 17, 18, I guess.
Yeah.
Still fledgling.
Well, again, he was also surrounded by the best footballers on the planet. So even if he was great, he would have looked terrible next to the likes of Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o,
But he really has this legendary teenage story that can be well adapted into a movie, I guess.
I'm sure it will at some point, now that he's found himself in the United States. I'm waiting for the Messi movie, directed by Steven Spielberg or something like that.
Yeah, Messi's road to a professional player was once threatened when he was 10 years old and was diagnosed with growth hormone deficiency.
Yes, he was offered around to a lot of clubs, right? And a lot of them didn't want to take on that responsibility. Yes, and then Barcelona took on the responsibility, right? Yeah.
That's a great story. His father's health insurance covered only 2 years of treatment, which cost at least $1,000 per month. As you said, Messi's childhood club, Newell's, declined to pay for it. Neither did River Plate. Then, to the story everyone knows, Barcelona accepted him.
But I think he was offered around to other European teams first as well. I think he was offered to Real Madrid. I think Arsenal. So it seems like a lot of clubs missed out on the GOAT.
Yeah, but it's Barcelona that finally offered him a contract on a paper napkin.
Yes, I know. Yes, that's right. I remember this. Yeah,
the story.
Yeah. I think it was agreed upon in a restaurant or something, and then I don't think. I mean, obviously the finer details weren't written down on that paper, but it was just like an understanding that I think Messi or someone still has that napkin. Actually,
yeah. What a memorabilia!
Yeah, wow. One of the greatest contracts ever signed in sports,
and such an inspiring story of a teenage sensation who later stunned the whole world. But I guess Messi's reputation didn't come overnight, like what Littler did in darts. What is quite similar might be Michael Chang's achievement as the youngest Grand Slam winner in tennis.
But you know what they say about overnight achievements, overnight success, right? They say overnight success is normally built upon 10 years of preparation and hard work, but the success seems like to happen overnight because it normally happens in one event or one game. But you probably find Littler's success, it did happen overnight in terms of him becoming known globally, but it probably also resulted from thousands of hours of just throwing at the dartboard.
Practices,
Exactly.
Reports say Littler started throwing darts at the age of 2.
You see, so by 16 he's already got 14 years under his belt.
He played from being a toddler.
Yeah.
But as I said, what's a similar story is Michael Chang's story in tennis. He won the French Open at the age of 17 at 1989. He still holds the record as being the youngest Grand Slam winner.
Yeah. And then Boris Becker also got Wimbledon at 17, I think, right?
Yeah, but Michael Chang
was younger.
Was younger. And but unfortunately, Chang never replicated the same degree of success. It was only his only Grand Slam victory, though he was one of the world's highest ranked players throughout much of the 1990s.
It's funny how that happens. And I think, again, there's another example of probably a mental element to it, because going into that final, he probably thought, I'm the underdog, no one's expecting me to win. And then all of a sudden, when he was the top seed for, tournaments going ahead into the future, he couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah. Another name that emerged the most recently, Luka Doncic.
Of course.
He made debut for Real Madrid basketball team at the age of 16. And when he was 19 years old, he already led the club to the Eurobasket title, winning the MVP. He also helped Slovenia win the Eurobasket title when he was just 18. So he made some glories before the age of 20 that few players made in their entire career.
Yeah, some real teenage successes there. And it's great to see that some of those talents that you mentioned went on to achieve great success. I mean, we'll have to see if Doncic can go on and win a couple of NBA titles, which I don't think he's done yet with the Mavs. Yeah, so I'm sure he's hoping to achieve that. But yeah, he's definitely lived up to the hype, as did Messi, of course, and a couple of the other names that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Tianyu, from your side, hits and misses?
Well, first of all, Kylian Mbappe. He's the first name that pops into my
mind.
In terms
World
of
Cup
young
winner
superstars.
with France, and
I mean, he's the same age as me, and he has already won a World Cup when I was still a college student.
Turned down a $600 million contract for 1 year. That's when you know you've made it.
And playing such a big role in the French national team and helping it win the World Cup.
Now, I think, isn't he?
Yeah. At 19 years old, he's just has put him onto the pinnacle of professional football. And just in terms of achievements and records he has made, I think Mbappe is the best among all young generation football players. Do you guys agree?
In terms of achievements at his age,
yeah,
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, Messi can probably have a shout at that point as well. I think he had won a couple of. How old is Mbappe? 25?
Yeah, he's 25 now.
I think Messi 26. had a couple of. I think Messi had a couple of Ballon d'Ors by then, but not a World Cup title. So I guess in terms of, I would say it's a toss up between Mbappe and Messi, and potentially Pele, because he was also winning World Cups at the age of 16.
Yeah.
So
but
also, he's up there with some of the best generational talents ever, for sure.
Yeah, and also speaking of football, I'm also going to mention Jude Bellingham. He's about to turn 22 this year, and we've already seen what he's done in Real Madrid.
Yeah, I would say he's the best player in the world right now.
Yeah, 14 goals in the first 15 games after he joined Real Madrid.
Supposedly a defensive midfielder as well, which is crazy.
It was really insane. And I think his sensational goal in the El Clasico is the best goal I've ever seen in 2023.
Well, it was a clutch goal for sure. I mean, in that match, at that moment, it was pretty incredible.
Real Madrid fan,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. No, but I mean, even me, I admire Real Madrid. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but to do that against Barcelona in the Clasico, the biggest football match in the world at that age, not being Spanish, having just arrived in Madrid, I mean, it's just like it goes on and on and on, in terms of everything that could have been against him. But to put all of that to the side and do what he's doing and just look like the main man at Real Madrid, and he hasn't even been there for a year. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's already become the mainstay of the team.
Yeah.
And hopefully he will reach the heights of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi as time progresses.
I mean, it's an unfair comparison. Like in terms of team achievements, he can probably get there, but in terms of individual records, like Ballon d'Ors maybe, but goals absolutely not. But I think
we'll see.
He will never. For me, the only people that can reach Messi and Ronaldo in terms of goals, I don't even think Mbappe can do it. I think Haaland can do it. Because he's just a machine. Like I don't even think he's human in terms of his goal scoring prowess. I don't think he's the world's most talented footballer, but in terms of just pure goal scoring, I think he could score for Stoke or for City or for,
considering the support he got,
the B team of some high school. He's just a goal scorer. So I think he's a guy that can go on and get those records.
Yeah, considering the support he got from Manchester City.
And I mean, he could end up at Real Madrid at some point as well. We might see Bellingham and Haaland playing together at some point. When I think of teenage sensations myself, I mean, Wayne Rooney has to be on the list. When he popped up onto the scene for United as an 18-year-old, scored a hat-trick in, I think it was his Old Trafford debut against Fenerbahce. I mean, it was in the Champions League against a very strong team. To deliver that sort of, and it included a free kick goal as well. And I mean, he probably had to battle with the likes of, Ryan Giggs and Ruud van Nistelrooy to take that free kick. Wow, what a performance from a teenager. And then this might not be something that would be familiar with most of our listeners or viewers because it happened in South Africa. But when I think back to my own personal memories with young sensations, there was a man called Francois Steyn, who burst onto the scene for South Africa in 2007 as a 19/20-year-old. The achievement that I'm thinking of, I think he had just turned 20, and it was just before the 2007 World Cup. I was at the game. It was South Africa versus Australia, and he received, people didn't really know who he was. And to get into the South African national rugby team is a huge accomplishment, but to get in there as a relative unknown, the media was questioning him, fans were questioning him, but the coach at the time, Jake White, just said, look, this guy is the real deal, just trust me, you'll see what he can do. In that game, I think South Africa were down by 6 points, and there were 7 minutes remaining, and he got the ball on the halfway line, on the touch line, so on the middle of the field, but on the touch line, and landed a drop kick against Australia.
Whoa.
And I didn't even know that was humanly possible at any level, but to do it in that moment against that team was sensational. And then as a 20-year-old, he would go on to reach the final of the Rugby World Cup with South Africa against England, and he landed 2 long-distance penalties to help us win that final. Wow. So he was a World Cup winner with South Africa at the age of 20. And then would go on to win a second World Cup. He would go on to win 2 British and Irish Lions series, and he had a bit of trouble with coaches and injuries and fitness, etc. throughout his career. But he still goes down as a generational young talent that just burst onto the scene and did things that's another thing that separated him, was that, yeah, he had these achievements, but when he first emerged, he was doing things that people had never seen before. And some of the talents we've spoken about, they achieved incredible things, but I can't think of someone that did something that I saw that I didn't think was possible. Francois Steyn did that, and I will never forget that as long as I live.
What you said just reminded me of David Beckham, the goal.
Yes, the halfway line goal. That was also just a moment that people just thought like, wow, this is not human. I mean, a lot of people have done it since.
Yeah.
But that was also a moment where we had a young generational talent coming onto the scene and doing something that people thought was actually impossible.
I think we can definitely put him on the list.
These top prospects, they just need 1 or 2 moments to produce legendary moments of sports.
But speaking of that, Yang Guang, because we have seen a couple of talents that, broke onto the scene but then didn't go on to achieve great success.
That's true.
So what can these generational talents do to avoid becoming one-hit wonders?
I guess the best approach is to better dealing with the pressure from media, from fans, from the sports.
But do you think it comes from the athlete side, or do you think more of the responsibility comes from the people that are around them or who they surround themselves with? Because I think that's also highly influential.
The environment.
I think it comes from the expectations from everyone around him.
So it's more of a personal battle rather than surrounding yourself with the right coaches and the right people.
Yeah. I think it's the situation Littler will face and needs to deal with at the next World Championships, because everyone would know what he's able to do. Can he keep the same mentality? Well, every camera will be on him, and when paparazzi will try to dig in his personal life, this is quite challenging. It reminds me of Emma Raducanu.
Yeah. A whole huge amount of hype, but hasn't really lived up to it.
It's still early to tell because she's still very young.
Yeah, and she's had injuries too, right?
Yeah, but her decline since winning the US Open at the age of 18 has been obvious, I would say. Raducanu admitted that she underwent huge pressure after the Grand Slam title, and she even said she wished not to have won that trophy.
Yeah.
Because after that, any tiny mistake, every defeat would be put under microscope.
Yeah.
The expectations for her were too much. I think Naomi Osaka also went through a similar process when she said she needed some time away from tennis for mental health reasons.
But Tian Yu, from your side, how do you think that these teenagers can deal with the pressure?
Yeah, I think, a lot of us are dreaming of having an overnight success, but most of them can't afford what comes after it. Money and fame can be intoxicating for someone who is still young and haven't been through all the vicissitudes of life. And winning everything at a young age, you can easily lose your motives to become a better player. And the more attention you get, the more stress and pressure comes along. Whatever you do in your training, in the games, and even in your daily life, like Yang Guang said, will be watched closely by the media, by the fans, and the haters.
Yeah. Maybe some of these teenagers don't care. For example, Luke Littler, maybe he's thinking, I've got 200,000 pounds now. I'm just going to keep waking up in the morning, playing darts and
playing Xbox.
Hoping, exactly. He probably thinks I've got life made. I don't need to dedicate thousands of hours to darts anymore. I can just live my life and have a good time.
Yeah, but to ordinary people, these things will take a toll on your professional
And for fans,
life.
It's frustrating because we want these talented people to go on and really achieve what they are capable of achieving. But at the same time, if you were them and you had all of this money and fame and success, and someone said, "Go and run around the track," I'd be like, "Just leave me alone."
It's a good time to quit.
It's a tricky thing to deal with. But I think looking at some of these teenage sensations that we've spoken about, something that they're going to have to deal with is that pressure, whether it's on the sports field or off. And a couple of the names that we've mentioned have dealt with it really well, but we've also mentioned some that are emerging, and we'll have to see, for example, Luke Littler, how he handles this newfound success, and if he can come back stronger next year. But that is all we have time for on this week's episode of Sideline Story. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course we will be back next week with our latest topic, and we'll see you then.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.